Um, oh, okay, I better do this right. So I was wondering if it's okay if we take a little longer than 15 minutes. Will it ruin everything? Because we came up with a okay. All right, great. So as soon as it's too much, just kick me out of the meeting. Okay. All right, good.
I'll
All
flip
right.
your
So
screen over.
okay. I'll just turn upside down. All right. So my name's Eli Duker. I've met some of you, but not everyone. So it's very exciting for me to be here again. It's been a while, a couple of years, I guess. Maybe. And I am a professor at Bard College. I work in the environmental and urban studies program. And I am a biological oceanographer by training, but took the long way around to get to appreciating the really tight connections between water quality and air quality issues, particularly in areas where there's a lot of both. So I am excited to be here and talk to you specifically about the air quality work that we started at BARD in partnership with Kingston. And it originated here in the CAC. So we want to give you a little update about what we've been doing. And I heard that you're interested in seeing what it looks like in Julie's house. And we're excited also to show you some data that came from work we've done in other houses as well in Kingston. So you can get a sense for where we are now and what we're trying to do in the future. Is it possible for me to share my screen? Is that okay? It's right now disabled, unfortunately. Is that an Emily Hauser thing?
Nope, you should be able to do it now.
Oh, great. Okay. Great. All right. Can everyone see? Okay, there, I'm trying to make it so that I can see you at the same time. Okay, so we're coming to you as a group of us who've all been working on this. I am the director of the Center for Environmental Sciences and Humanities at BARD, but we are always in teams and groups working together. Collaboration is a really big deal. So I wanted to let you know that along with me are Owen O'Connor, who is here, who's a Kingston resident, and he's been working on community science lab data and has been doing a lot of work, as you'll see, on air quality data. Michaela LaHote can't be here, but she is our new community sciences lab technician at BARD and did a bunch of work as a student, actually, on the beginnings of our Kingston Air Quality Initiative. And then Lorraine Farina, who is a member of our community science lab and is a former CAC air quality subcommittee head. So is an expert on what I'm going to be talking about today and will probably help me out when I say the wrong thing. So just to give you some background, if you don't know already, the Kingston Air Quality Initiative is a formal partnership between Bard College and Kingston, the city of Kingston. And we have an air quality sensor package on top of the Andy Murphy Neighborhood Center. And it's been operational since January of 2020. The day after we put it up in January, we had one of the highest wind events I think we've had in the last couple of years. And so it was tested right away and it didn't fly off the building. And so we've been really lucky and it's still there. So we now have almost 2 full years of air quality data that we will be able to use to continue to track outdoor air quality for Kingston. We will, as we gather more and more data over more and more time, we will also be able to evaluate efforts that the CAC and other groups in the city try to implement to maintain our good air quality with these data. So it's really exciting to have baseline data, historical data to start comparing as we continue to try to be a sustainable city here in the Hudson Valley. Alongside that effort, Bard College has been tracking ground level indoor and outdoor air quality because we've been really curious about whether or not the sensor on top of the Andy Murphy building was actually reflecting what was happening on the ground level in different Kingston neighborhoods, because we can't all live on the Andy Murphy building roof. So we're all down on the ground, and we wanted to see how those numbers compare. We also wanted to start demonstrating the influence of what's outside on our inside environment, because as we know, we spend most of our time, unfortunately, inside. And so understanding outdoor air quality is one thing, but then understanding how it affects our indoor air quality is another. And then another really important piece here is that we are responding to concerns that were reported to the CAC over the last couple of years and to the community science lab from some residents who were experiencing what they thought were high particulate levels in their houses because of local wood burning. So wood stoves, fireplaces, that kind of thing. And trying to help those citizens get a better understanding of just what kind of exposure was happening, and try to learn a little bit more about that, about the risks that they were taking by being exposed to those levels. It's a little bit like secondhand smoke in that instance. If you're not burning in your house, but you're experiencing the smoke from another house, and just trying to help citizens understand what was happening to them. So that's the background of these data that I'm going to show you. But before we get started, I know many of you are air quality experts, but not everyone. I have to admit, I have learned more about air quality in the last couple of years than I thought possible. And my teachers are mostly folks in the community, like Lorraine Farina, and other folks who have been thinking about this on a really kind of high resolution scale for quite some time. But first, let's all get on the same page about what air quality is. So good air quality makes sense, is clean air and contains only very small amounts of solid particles and chemical pollutants. And so when you think about solid particles in the air, think about something about the size of a bacterial cell, very tiny. We're talking about very tiny particles. So all air has those particles, but good air has very few. Poor air quality is basically when there are high levels of pollutants, including particles, in the air. Sometimes you can smell that, sometimes you can see that as a haze, but not always. But the one thing that poor air quality is always is bad for human health and the environment. And also bad air quality can indicate a contribution to climate change that is different than if you are lucky enough to be in a good air quality situation. So we've been talking about particles. So what are those particles? What's particulate matter? It's really important to understand that, because that's how the EPA and the World Health Organization decide whether or not your air is clean and safe. So many of you may be aware that the EPA looks at two different, and the World Health Organization look at two different size ranges of particles. One size range is particulate matter 10, which means that it's particles that are 10 microns. So think of 10 bacteria holding hands. So they're 10 microns and smaller, or particulate matter 2.5, which is particulate matter that is 2.5 microns. So about 2, maybe a half bacteria holding hands, and smaller. And so this little graphic here gives you an idea. Here's a human hair. Here's beach sand, 90 micrometers. PM10 is kind of the width of the hair, about 10 microns. And then PM 2.5 is tiny, and about 4 of them can fit across a larger particle. So I'm just letting you see this because of the scale here. So we're talking about very big scales and difference of what you can find in the air, because you can definitely find hair in the air. If you have a cat or a COVID cat like we do, or cats, you will know that you can see those hairs through the air. But what you can't see are these PM10 and PM 2.5 particles. And they are the most disastrous for human health, because they can be inhaled by us and they can make it into our respiratory and digestive systems. So particulate matter that is in the range of 2.5, even up to 5 microns, when we breathe it in, can make it all the way into our lungs. And the very smaller particles can not only make it into the lungs, but then directly into our bloodstream. So those particulates, the smaller the particulates, the worse they are for our public health or for our health. The particles that are greater than about 5 microns are usually caught in our upper respiratory system, where they can cause allergies and reactions. I included this graphic here. This is from 2016. I'm curious about how this has changed with our new understanding of COVID and its relationship between exposures to high particulate matter in the air and vulnerability to COVID. But at least in 2016, of all the top 10 risk factors for human health, ambient air pollution, so the air pollution that you breathe inside and or outside, was one of the top 10 risk factors for death. And the important thing to understand is this ambient air pollution here is the only environmental risk factor here. Everything else in many ways could be seen as personal choices or lack of access to healthy food. But the ambient air pollution is something that we all are breathing, and we all contribute to what is in the air. So the air pollution is an environmental thing that we can control. So where does particulate matter come from? The ways that I understand this is, for the most part, particulate matter comes from burning something. So it could be burning oil, it could be burning wood, but in the end, these smaller particles in particular are created by combustion. And so basically we look at, in an urban and even in a rural environment, the main sources are cars, power generation, volcanoes, and fires. So those are about burning, right? So volcanoes, fires, power, traffic, all of that is about burning something and creating smoke and creating particulates. There are other ways, which is through agriculture, dust storms, and wind events that kick up particulate matter into the air from more natural sources. The two things that all of these particulate matter have in common is that they're bad for public health, no matter if they're natural or if they are human induced. They're bad for public health, and they also contribute to climate change. So we're fresh out of volcanoes in the Hudson Valley, at least active ones. But you can see that even here in Kingston, we have the potential for many of these sources: traffic, power generation, heat, fires, and agriculture. So I did mention that we were doing some studies that are specific to wood smoke, and I just wanted to quickly just talk about wood smoke. The reason why wood smoke causes particulate matter is that it doesn't completely burn the wood. So if you have a fireplace or you've had an outdoor fire, it takes a really long time for the wood to actually burn completely away. And because it's incomplete combustion, you have ash and coalish kind of things. So you can see that you're not getting hot enough to actually complete the combustion. And in that incomplete combustion, you have particle matter that is forming out of the toxic materials that come from the wood. So and it affects health because any exposure to high particulate matter has profound influences on our health. Not only will you die from COVID faster, you are at risk for many things, including cancer, asthma, heart disease, heart attacks, and others. I think for me, I was really surprised when I learned about wood smoke and air quality in general, just how much your heart can be affected, also your brain. So where it comes from, we know where it comes from. There's all sorts of sources for wood smoke. Some of them are residential, some of them are commercial, but it's one of those things that the Hudson Valley really enjoys. And so it's really important for us to understand the level of risk that we have, because we are in a valley, and we'll talk about that. And we're trying to be a sustainable city. So how do we measure air quality? basically, so if we're looking at, so the we is actually you as well. So how are we as a CAC, as a city, and as the community science lab at BART, how are we measuring it? We're measuring it in 3 different ways right now. The first one is that we have the sensor on the Andy Murphy building. And you should be able to see the mountains here, but it's a kind of a smoggy-ish day. So you can't see the mountains right there, but they are supposed to be there. So this is our sensor on the Andy Murphy building. We also have smaller sensors. This one's called a purple. And that's one we use indoor and outside of houses to track indoor and outdoor air quality. And we have these cute little guys named eggs that do the same thing. So those are and basically what we're measuring are PM10 and PM2.5, okay? So we've been really focused on PM2.5, and that's what I'm gonna focus on in the rest of this presentation, because PM2.5 is the most deadly and is directly a function of burning for the most part. So I wanted to give you a sense. So the EPA currently states that an annual mean of 12 micrograms per meters cubed or more of PM2.5, so there's a concentration of PM2.5, is the threshold between clean air and poor air quality. The World Health Organization, on the other hand, says 5 micrograms per meters cubed is the threshold. The EPA says the daily mean for exposure to particulate matter at 2.5 should be about 35 micrograms per meters cubed, and the World Health Organization says 15. So you'll notice that the EPA, our EPA, the US EPA, has some catching up to do with the world, which shouldn't be too much surprise to anyone. It is worth mentioning that the EPA was getting ready to lower these thresholds just before Trump went into office. And so that was put on indefinite hold. Hopefully we'll get back to that later. But anyway, so what we're gonna be looking at are these thresholds here. We're gonna be looking at the daily mean thresholds, and we're gonna try to outline those for you so you can see how we're doing in Kingston. So before I show you the data, I want to tell you the major findings so far. So they're not a surprise to you. And also you can cut me off if you don't want to listen to all this stuff if I'm going on too long. So first, the Andy Murphy building measurements track really well with ground level measurements based on our studies so far. But we have found that ground level measurements, so that's taking measurements right outside someone's home in Kingston, they tend to be higher and they tend to have more variability, which means that they are capturing hyper-local sources of particulate matter. So whereas the Andy Murphy building is an integration of everything that's happening over the city, when you get measurements from the ground level, you're going to catch things that are only happening in a smaller area. We also found that outside air quality measurements are affecting indoor air quality measurements in the houses that we've looked at. So we're able to see how when particulate matter is high outside, for the most part in the houses, particulate matter can also rise. We also found that indoor measurements tend to be higher and more variable than outdoor measurements, which makes sense because when you're in your house, you're kind of in an enclosed space and you're doing things like burning stuff. You're burning your dinner. You're burning your wood. You're burning many things that can create particulate matter in your living space. And so we have a lot of variability, a lot of ups and downs. And the last thing is that we found that humans as sensors appear to be sensitive and dependable. So the pilot studies related to wood smoke pollution demonstrated, for the most part, when folks said they smelled smoke inside or outside, we were able to confirm that there were higher levels of particulate matter. This doesn't mean that they were super high. It means that actually it was just they could smell when that particulate matter was rising, which I thought was really impressive. I mean, it shouldn't be surprising that as humans, we can sense things. That's science in and of itself, but we were able to confirm that for people. And Because of that, and I'll talk about this in a minute, we are now partnering with SUNY Albany to analyze the content of that PM 2.5 to confirm its source. It's one thing to know that the neighbor is burning wood and smell it in your house, and it's another for SUNY Albany to show, because of the chemical signature, that it is absolutely wood smoke inside and outside of the house. All right, so let's talk about the air quality data. But before we do that, I wanted Owen to show us, we've created a public dashboard that we're trying to go live with in the next couple of weeks for the Andy Murphy Building air quality sensor. And so I'm going to let Owen take that away.
Sure. Hi, everybody. I don't know if I can share my screen, or Eli, I can just direct you to click on your screen. Maybe.
Oh yeah, you want me to just do that? I'll do that.
Yeah, couldn't you? So we've been so as Eli mentioned, we've got both the particulate matter sensor up on the Annie Murphy Neighborhood Center, as well as a weather station. And what we've been working on doing is trying to make ways that we can access the information that's happening up there live, rather than you know, in it as a supplement or a different kind of way of interacting with the data than a, you know, a year-end report about what's happened in the past year. So right now, and as Eli said, we're testing this out and interested in your feedback about what you feel like would be most useful to see in a dashboard like this. But right now we're connecting with the sensor that's measuring particulate matter and calculating the nowcast number that the EPA uses. So this is actually right. What Eli is pointing to with his cursor is a concentration of particulate matter, but the it's calculated with this formula that the EPA uses to. It's basically like a 12-hour average that's weighted towards if there's major changes happening, it weights the most recent hours more. And then you're seeing based on the EPA's guidance, there's I think 5 or 6 different buckets of recommendations. Right now, it's not telling you anything, but you know, as I've been watching it, sometimes the particulate matter spikes, and you get a recommendation saying that unusually sensitive individuals should take it easy today, or whatever the EPA's language is around it. And then we've also got the weather station. So right now we just have the readings from the wind, and this is just from the past hour. Not too much is happening right now. Pretty low wind. So that's past hour readings in contrast to the particulate matter. And then Eli, if you want to click on that past 12 hours. So today is not as exciting of a day as it gets, but this is just showing the raw readings from the past 12 hours, not averaged or anything. And then we've also, Eli, on the left where it says you can explore historic data from Kingston here, trying to set up a situation where you can, if people are interested, pedal around through the data set, that historic data set, and check out different dates or different weeks that are of interest, and be able to explore the what we've been measuring yourself. Yeah. Oh, and I think Eli set up a link to just a blank Google sheet, because we are interested in knowing what feels relevant to people. You know, we want to keep it as streamlined and relevant as possible, and not add extra clutter, but we also want to be responding to what people are interested in seeing and what people feel like they can take action on in their lives. And that's partially why we've been kind of leaning towards the, what the EPA's recommendations are saying. But anyway, would be interested in your comments as far as what you'd be what you find most relevant, and how you feel like you would use something like this or not use something like this.
Okay, I think I've totally messed this up. Are you seeing the public access dashboard thing now? Okay. All right, so I was thinking I would somehow, but it's not letting me. I wanted to cut and paste that into the chat. So I don't know, Owen, if you can figure out how to cut and paste that link for folks.
Yeah, I'll work on that while you're talking. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. So I have a question. How much more time do we have? Because I'm a data junkie and I have some data to show you, but I do not want to take up too much time. Anybody?
Well, we didn't really time our agenda, so I would
Okay.
say, 5 or 10. What'd you did 5 or 10?
Okay.
minutes?
All right.
Yeah.
So it'll probably be 10 if that's okay. All right. So so we'd love to get your feedback. Thanks, Owen. This is a product of much work on Owen's part, and it's very exciting for us. We will also have our BARD station up as well. So it'll be the first time Ulster and Dutchess counties have air quality real-time data available. So I wanted to show you a little bit about what we've been doing with the data to be able to state the findings that I'm talking about. So the first finding was that the Annie Murphy building monitor tracks well with ground level sensors. And I wanted to show you what that looks like. So this glaringly purple figure here is basically showing the readings, daily averages readings from the Annie Murphy building. So up on the Annie Murphy building, starting in May, going all the way to through the year. So this is probably May 2020 to May 2021. These are the ups and downs of our air quality on the Annie Murphy building. And so if you add the outdoor readings from some of the houses that we have had ground level sensors on, you can see that they map really well with what the Annie Murphy building is stating, right? But they're always a little bit higher. Well, not always, but often are a little bit higher than what's at the Annie Murphy building. So one of the exciting things we can do now, because we have so many data points and over such an extended period of time, will be that from the Annie Murphy building, we can start predicting what ground level exposure would look like. And that's something that we're going to be working on in the future. So
I want to just jump in to make sure that everyone who's on the call and also anyone who might be watching this later knows where the Annie Murphy building is.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's right across the street from the the city. What's it called?
It's 467 Broadway. It's the building that I work in. It's the one I'm in right now. It's where the Parks and Rec office is, next to Rite Aid on Broadway.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. It's been a long day and a long semester. So anyway, okay, so that's where the Annie Murphy building is. So that's why we're curious, because it's in Midtown, but there's a big city out there. And so we just are, curious, is it reflecting what's on the ground? Is it reflecting what's happening in neighborhoods? This shows you, again, the purple is the Annie Murphy building, okay? And these are higher resolution data. So, and it's showing the purple is the Annie Murphy building. And then we've got two different sensors, one in Roosevelt Park and one in the Midtown Rondout. And those, as you can see, ridiculously. I mean, these are the kind of data that as an environmental scientist in water, I never see this kind of stuff. So, but they ridiculously track what's happening on the Andy Murphy building. But again, as you can see, often the ground level sensors are reading at higher concentrations, which makes sense, right? So you do expect with any system that particulate matter will be at higher concentrations at ground level, and as you go up in altitude, they should decrease. Okay, so again, I just want to remind you, we've got no volcanoes. We do have traffic, we have power generation and heat. We have fires. We get affected by wildfires, even from California. Hopefully you saw what we wrote about that earlier this year. We have agriculture, okay? And so the thing is that we don't have a huge dense population here, but the problem is that we are in a valley. And I wanted to talk really quickly about what inversions are here, because inversions are playing a really big role in when our air quality overall in Kingston goes to levels that are not actually healthy. And so the concept is fairly simple, which is that, and anyone who's tried to light a fire in their house, and annoyingly the smoke doesn't want to go up the chimney, this is kind of what's going on, all right? So usually when you have a source for air pollution, that source is heated, and so because it's combustion, so it's heated. So once it's emitted out of the smokestack or the chimney, it should then go straight up into the air because it's warmer than the surrounding air, and it will continue traveling as long as that's the case, okay, until it cools down. And eventually smoke does cool down. But once it cools down, it will stay at the level that the air surrounding it is at the same temperature as it. Does that make sense? Okay, so that's a normal thing. And so if you're in a valley and you have this, it doesn't mean that it's okay. It means that someone else is dealing with your air pollution here, but that air pollution is not sticking around where you are. The problem is when you have an inversion. So this depends on there being air that gets cooler as it goes up. The inversion is the problem is that your air is cool and then suddenly it warms up a little bit and then it gets cold again. And so that interferes with the capacity of this warm pollution to keep on rising. The awkward thing is that as it's rising, it starts meeting air that's the same temperature as it, and it cannot go up any further, okay? And so when you have an inversion like this, particularly in a valley, it can set up quickly, and it's basically like shutting a window when you're burning something. So basically the particulates have nowhere to go and they start increasing, and they will increase all the way down to the ground. Okay, those are common. These happen commonly in Hudson Valley. And so that's why, even though we might not have a very dense population here, it is really important that we have a good grip on the amount of air pollution we're putting out as a city, because when there are inversions, we can quickly make that concentration go up, and it can be unhealthy. So just to further demonstrate this, Marco Spodek, who used to work with the Community Science Lab, put together these figures to kind of help us visualize through data what it looks like when we have inversions. So this is a time when there is no inversion. Everything is leaving as we planned. This here is a figure that was taken from Albany, where they send up weather balloons, and that weather balloon is recording the temperature of the air around it as it rises. Okay, and they do this regularly, and they report those data. So this is a day where there are no inversions. Okay, and this inversion, this means that the air is warm, is cooling down as you go up. And this is the kind of figure that you would want to see, because as you're going up in altitude, the temperature is decreasing. Okay, so this is temperature. It's warmer this way, it's cooler here. So as you go up in the sky, the temperature is decreasing. Okay, so that's no inversion. But when there's actually an inversion, and this shows you the temperature doesn't have that smooth rise, there are back and forth, okay? And so this is a really clear demonstration. So on December 12th of 2020, we had a major inversion and it was very low down. And that's when you start seeing this mess down here where it gets colder, then it warms up, then it gets colder again. That means that the air cannot leave your local surroundings and your air quality will quickly degrade. And so that happened several times so far. So again, this is from May of 2020 to May 2021. And there were several times where we did actually see spikes in our daily averages here in Kingston that went above the EPA threshold. Okay, so this is the World Health Organization threshold, and this is the EPA threshold. And so these 4 times that it went above the EPA threshold, here is the data around what the temperatures were like as you went up in altitude. And you can see on all 4 of those days, there were pretty major inversions. Okay, so for me, I mean, I can't wait to get more data and keep comparing this, but it's pretty evident that we do have to worry about inversions and that we already as a city have enough of our own pollution that we generate that inversions can create bad air quality for all of us, right? All right. So the next finding is that indoor readings generally, so inside of houses, can track with outside air quality. And that is demonstrated here. So again, you've got the purple, which is the Andy Murphy building, and it's starting to get covered up because then you've got your outdoor readings, which track really well with that purple. So it's going to cover up the purple. But then you have the blue added here, okay? And the blue here shows indoor readings. And what you'll notice right away is that the indoor readings are often higher than outside, and that the indoor readings also spike and are variable, right? And so when we presented data to Julie and Lorraine, because we did a study in their houses, there was a question around how do our houses compare to other people's houses? And so we did a comparison with a couple of other neighborhoods here. And so we've got a house in Midtown Rondout here. We've got a house in Pankaki, a house in Roosevelt Park, and a house in Uptown. And so indoor readings, and the indoor readings were over a pretty short period, about 30 days or so in the spring. So we had to figure out when everyone's overlapped to be able to compare. But you can see that there's a lot of variability, and the readings, this is without outliers. So there are extreme events that are not accounted for here. But that indoor air quality can vary a lot. This house here, the Midtown Rondout house, has a major air filtering system installed. And so this is also showing you that the air filters actually can make a difference, but unfortunately, not everyone who lives in Kingston can install such an expensive thing. But it does demonstrate, interestingly, that it makes a difference if you have filters in your home. Okay, so then the last thing I want to show you here is something about looking at if you have a fireplace in your house, what might happen when you light your fire. So we have a household here that reported when there were fires lit. And so the green again is outdoor readings. Purple again is the Andy Murphy building. Okay, so these are purple here. And we've got outdoor readings of air quality, which are right outside the door of the house. And then we've got indoor readings, which is the blue. The red is covering the blue at the time when the fire was lit and was going. Okay, that makes sense. So we have time here and concentrations of PM 2.5. Here's your EPA, here's your World Health Organization. And so the fire is lit here. And so you'll see that inside, the air quality doesn't necessarily change much. But then if you notice, the outside air does change. Now, one of the ways to understand if what's happening outside has to do with something local versus something that is citywide is to compare it to the Andy Murphy sensor monitor here. And what I want you to see is that here's the Andy Murphy sensor monitor, and here's what's happening outside, right outside that house. Okay, so the outside air quality is registering higher particulates than the Andy Murphy building at this time. Okay, coincidence? I don't know, but it's interesting to be able to see what these sensors can tell us, right, over time. So I wanted to show you another time when burning was reported inside. So fireplace was lit.
Eli, can you just, it's really hard to see the time. So could you go back? Because
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like about a day on the axis.
Here. So
Right.
this is noon and this is midnight. And so the fire was lit probably around 7 or 8.
Oh, so that's a 12-hour period.
These are 12-hour
Okay.
periods. Yes. Yes. All right. And so again, fire lit, and you get an interesting similarity here. Andy Murphy building doesn't change at all, but you see outside something different is happening, right? So it may or may not have to do with that house lighting the fire. It could have to do with other houses lighting a fire. But it's an interesting, we're seeing these connections here and we're excited to explore them. Same pattern here and here. Okay, so we're starting to figure out, okay, we have the sensors are showing variability. There are things that look connected, and we need to make that next step, which is to figure out exactly what the particulate matter is made of. And so these are reported burn events by people who are not burning in their house, but are reporting air quality that is shifting in their house and outside their house because a neighbor is burning. And the yellow here is when they reported that there was burning. And so the blue is the outside monitor. The red is AMNC, okay? And I think it's really important here. So watch how AMNC doesn't really show much change, but the inside and outside of that house does change. And so without knowing what is happening, there is something happening that is local. Could be cooking inside, could be dust being run around, and it also could be smoke. So when they report burning here, you'll see that this report of burning does coincide with higher levels both inside and outside of PM 2.5, but not from the Andy Murphy building. And that happens again when they report burning here. Okay. Then on this event here with this yellow pattern here, it's probably the most extreme. Again, you'll see that here's the Andy Murphy building, but here's the indoor and the outdoor when they report smelling smoke and feeling like there is wood smoke coming from neighbors. Okay, so we're starting to see that humans can sense this and that it's something that is probably of concern, particularly when you see levels like this climbing, so it's sustaining over that 35 micrograms per meters cubed here, right? So these one-off times where you have higher exposures, there's a lot of science that is going on right now that shows that you should never be exposed to any particulate matter. So it's arguable that that is not okay. But when you see these slow, sustained rises, that means that over time, the people in that house are exposed to very high levels of PM 2.5, which is not okay. So having found those things, we're really excited to kind of try to move forward. One thing we're excited about for the Kingston Air Quality Initiative, which is our collaboration with you, is to finalize the MOU, Memorandum of Understanding with Kingston and Bard. Julie and I have been working on that to get a 10-year collaboration that is clearly stated that Bard will maintain that monitor for 10 years and the city of Kingston will let us have that monitor on there for 10 years and that we will regularly report like we are doing now to the city of Kingston. We want to get that dashboard live. And again, here's the way to give that feedback. We really love that before we make it live. And then we really are excited about we're excited about the possibility of being able to predict what to expect at the ground level for people's exposure. And we want to start looking at how we can use inversions and predict inversions so that maybe citizens of Kingston can make different decisions when we know there's an inversion. Maybe we stop making the particulates that create bad air quality during that time, at least. The other thing that Bard Community Science Lab is going to be doing is, as I said, we will be partnering with the SUNY Albany, the labs of Dr. Ainul Barry and Hassan Khan, who have been, who Lorraine Farina hooked Bard up with, who have been studying wood smoke for a very long time. They will be installing a huge suite of sensors in at least 4 houses, maybe 8 over the next couple of months, that will be able to tell us definitively what the particulate matter is that is infiltrating inside of houses and outside of houses. So we'll be able to tell when it spikes, it's not cooking, this is actually wood smoke, or when it spikes, this is some other thing, mold or some other contaminant. Then we also want to deploy more ground level monitoring equipment, because we really want to get a good grip on other sources of contamination and bad air quality inside and outside in Kingston, including wood smoke, car traffic, and inside what is happening with people who are living in infrastructure that has been degraded by flooding, mold, and other structural issues. So that's what we have going on. I am sorry it took way longer than I thought. I am such a stereotypical professor. I really apologize. If you have any questions, let me know. Yeah.
I enjoyed the data.
I
It did take a while, more than we expected, yeah.
I'm sorry,
So,
I'm sorry.
So what you want to, we can just personally go to the Google Docs and put in our information?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah.
And then did you put in the, Connor, can you put in the dashboard?
Oh, and can you put it?
Yes. Yeah, I dropped that in the chat too.
No, I didn't see it.
Uh,
I didn't see it. So maybe,
Okay,
did you
maybe
send
I
it to
just-
everyone?
yes, I think I made a mistake and sent it to just one person. I'll do that right now.
Okay, thank you. And so is there anything that we need to get back to you on besides personally?
No, no, just keep us in mind when people are coming to you with air quality questions, because we'd love to get involved in it. And we look forward to being able to bring more findings to you and work with you all in thinking about air quality in Kingston for the long run.
Eli, could you just back the presentation up 2 slides? I think it was to the
Sure.
MOU. I'm just trying to grab the screen cap thing.
Do you want me to share this? Do you want me to share this with you?
That would be helpful. Man, I was pretty good with keeping up with you though.
All right, all right. I can. I'll send it as a PDF. Should I just send that to Julie, or who should I send that to? What's your email? Can you put it in the chat?
Yeah, I will. I'll do that. Yeah, I'll do that right now. I'm going to grab this first and then we'll do the chat next. Okay, very good. Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Also, Eli, his email is on the email where you got the Zoom. I'm pretty
okay.
sure. So, yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Thank you very much.
All
Eli,
right.
can I just ask a question before you
Sure.
go?
Yeah.
So I absolutely confess to being an inveterate log fire addict. Is there anything I can do in the short term to ameliorate the effects of wood smoke pollution?
I think so. It is an unfortunate reality that there is no good answer to you, and I'm sorry. It's one of those things that we are all. I'm surprised by it. Let me just say that as a longtime environmentalist and environmental scientist, I will be embarrassed to tell you that I did not know that this was such a big issue, but it is. One thing that I could say for now is that really paying attention to what's happening outside. When there are inversions, it can be pretty obvious. Your fire will not go very well. And if you take a look outside and your fire is the smoke is starting to pool, you can see it, you know, and so it's something to be aware of. And we're going to try to figure out a way to have that tool online. But in the end, the unfortunate reality is that it's kind of like smoking, and the secondhand smoke is a real issue. It just goes further away from us, right?
Yeah, it's quite surprising, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's very interesting. Well, where I grew up in Edinburgh, Scotland, when I was a child, we were everyone had to convert to smokeless fuel. We, you know, we were burning coal and converted to smokeless fuel. Do you think? Sorry, that's my clock. Is there a lower smoke fuel available, or I don't think that smokeless coal is available here.
Not that I know of.
Right.
Not that I know of.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
But
right.
it's
So
not-
what's
yeah.
Not to
what's
get
the
into
inversions, right? And so are there any plans to maybe even have an alert on inversions for, because I know a lot of people are burning wood in this
Yeah.
town.
Yeah, I think we would like to work towards that, but we're not there yet.
Okay, that would be great.
That's
Also,
something-
if you need another study subject, I would very much like to follow. I'm in Uptown Kingston. If you want to come and
Great.
measure things around me, I'd probably give you lots of data.
Okay,
Sorry to
that's
say.
great. I mean,
Okay.
that's the thing, thinking collectively. I mean, this is a collective issue, and so it's great to get other people involved. So you will be hearing from us, actually. Thank you.
Okay, great. And in the meantime, I'll keep it on the. I'll start to reduce my use. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay. I wanted to note that Dixie is here. I don't know Dixie. Dixie, can you say hello?
Well, Emily,
Okay.
while we figure out that mystery, this is Lorraine. Want to thank you all for hosting the Bard Community Science Lab today, all of us. And I wanted to just make the quick points that it's certainly the reality that some of us cannot breathe well in Kingston because of the wood burning. And that it is part, in fact, of the CAC's air quality mission statement to assure that all residents have access to clean air and preserve and protect our clean air. And to Helen's question, I would say that one of the things we worked on while I was at CAC for 6 years was a recommendation that people who have fireplaces switch to electric fireplaces, which can be sourced from clean energy sources. So that's a possibility. Just wanted to mention that. And thank you all again for listening.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Were there any other questions? Okay. Okay, moving on then, we should look at the minutes and accept them. Julie and I made some changes.
Yeah. Okay.
Bye, Eli. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for coming, Eli and Owen. and
Longest
Lorraine.
15 minutes ever. I'm sorry.
That was it was amazing.
Yeah.
Yes. And thank you, Lorraine. If you're still there, if you are, thank you so much for all the work that you did on the CAC
Yes.
on this and your ongoing work.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. Oh, the minutes, sorry. So I sent out the minutes, my changes sometime today. And are people okay with those? Did you look at them, and can we go ahead and okay them with our suggested modifications? So Ted is saying yes.
Yeah. Yes, okay.
Okay, so can we have Ted, are you motioning to accept? And then can I have a second?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of
Okay.
the last meeting.
I'll second.
Okay,
Who
thank
are
you.
we-
All in favor?
Yeah, okay.
Okay,
Who seconded?
I did.
Anita,
Okay, Anita, okay, great, okay. Yeah, okay, then I'm a yes on this, yeah.
okay. All right, then the next is the open space planning, which is community preservation, the letter and the letter to the so let's just go with Julie. Can you talk about the community preservation plan grant?
Sure. Right now, we are negotiating the contract with the state for the community preservation plan. Funding that we got through Hudson River Estuary Program. We are not in contract yet because we're still negotiating it. And so we hope to be in contract at the beginning of January. And then we will immediately work to put out a request for proposals for a consultant to hire to write the community preservation plan. So I will keep folks posted, but we are right now developing a contract with the state.
So is the RFP written?
No,
No, okay. And are you gonna want our comments on that? Or are you all okay with that? Okay. So that could be early January, maybe?
yes,
Okay. Yeah, that's gonna be a really quick turnaround.
yes it is.
Okay. And did we have any other report on whether or not the Kingston Land Trust wants to kind of take on that the role of getting a resolution?
Not at this time.
Okay,
That could happen, but not today.
So
Okay.
what's going to happen is once we put out the RFP and bring on the consultant, we're also going to have early preliminary, meetings with stakeholders and public meetings. And that's kind of when we're really going to understand more, what the process looks like, what people's vision is. And that's when we're going to try to really start to rally the troops behind getting support behind the plan. And,
okay,
at this point, we kind of have to wait till that part.
okay, great.
Yeah, I imagine the land trust will weigh in at that point and, in terms of a supporting role. That's where they're at right now.
Okay. Okay. And then I think the next thing then we can talk about, I don't have anything to report on the Norwalk project. So, but I think we can go to the letter. And so the letter came out, needs to go in tomorrow, correct? And it's just, we're giving support to the land trust for funding to help preserve the land along Wilbur. So where that is, just for your information, is if you're going down Wilbur towards to the roundout, it's up on the left, kind of right before you come to the Y intersection, and it's that hill on the left, which would be south. And there's a cave up there. There's a cave called Salamander Cave, and it's just really steep slopes. And the issue was that someone got possession of the land and went in and did some cutting and caused a lot of damage in the and so now the land trust is trying to preserve that land along with the cave conservation group, and they're preserving the entrance to the cave. And I thought so I thought it was a great letter. I wouldn't change anything that they did a great job.
But the only thing I would add was they closed today, which I don't think there's been a press release yet, but they closed today on the Lee Mulliganell site, which is directly adjoining it.
The what?
Lee Mulliganell's property.
Okay,
Lee had about 6 acres there. In the past tense, it's now Kingston Land Trust.
great.
So there's about 12 acres there, and I don't remember, about 9 acres that Dennis Connors and Valerie, well, Valerie actually, because Dennis passed away, Valerie donated to the Caves Conservancy. So that we're getting into some acreage over there in Wilbur, which is identified.
It's really great.
I think somebody was up there chipping up some of the downed wood just in the last couple of days, because I go through there on a regular basis.
Oh, yeah, I saw that too.
Yeah, Greg Shaheen's been on the case there. He's
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so can we have a motion to send the letter? And motion to
I'll make a
send the
motion.
letter. Okay, thank you.
Motion to send the letter.
Okay. And a second?
Sure, I'll second.
Okay. All right, Helen and Anita. Okay, and Julie, then all I will do is put it on letterhead and sign it and send it to Greg. Okay,
Once you vote.
once we vote, yes, okay. Let's all vote to send the letter. Sorry. Okay,
I'm going to abstain because I'm
all
on
right,
the-
you're gonna abstain, so we have 4 ayes.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, got a majority.
Okay, thank you. All right, the next one is citywide rezoning. Is there anything update on that?
I don't have an update from Dover Coal as to where they're at. They were the last I spoke to them or emailed with them, they were reviewing all the data that they received, and they had that map that they had presented at that meeting, I think on November 10th, where there was very poor audio. I don't know.
Oh, right, that was the day after our meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay.
they presented their findings to date, and we'll be in touch with them, and I'm sure they'll be in touch with us.
Yeah, I'm sure they're very busy cranking through all that
Oh,
information.
yeah. It was
Yeah.
a lot of stuff.
A lot of stuff. Yep.
Yes. Yeah.
Anything on the tree planting grant support?
Emily, you were gonna do this conservation land use webinar that I sat in on. It kind of relates
Yes,
to
I'm sorry,
this.
go ahead. Yep, sorry,
Yeah,
Anita. Yep,
The Hudson River Estuary Program sponsored a webinar. And they had 2 folks, one from Adirondack Watershed Institute and one from the Wildlife Conservation Society. And they were talking about the environmental impact and the sociological aspects of conservation. I'm going to put it into a nutshell and say that the core of their recommendations for doing this were that there should be something in the codes in the city that requires an ecologist of some type to be involved even before design of a project, from single home up. And that included, not just taking a look at what land or what habitat should be preserved, but also recommendations for during construction, like don't drive over this section and compact it, or don't cut down this stuff. So it seemed
Mhm,
like this was an opportune time for maybe us to make a recommendation to this, to the codes, that this might be something that should be included to the group that's doing the revision of our codes, zoning codes and things.
Anita, would this have to do with the trainings that are done through like Laura Heady and the Hudson River Estuary Program and Hudsonia? Typically,
I
Gretchen.
No.
think so. Some people were obviously getting some credit for attending this.
Yeah,
but it
I'm wondering-
was people outside of the Hudson River that were giving the talks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are
Yeah,
the recommendations
they-
similar? That's my question. Are the recommendations similar to what Gretchen and Laura typically do when they're giving their presentations? And
I think that's hard for Anita to answer.
Yeah.
probably, if you attended it, probably would.
The presentation was on December 7th. And I assume that it was recorded if we want to go back and read it. And I
might-
think
yeah.
that I don't recall anything like when Gretchen Stevens came and gave us a talk that she was suggesting things like, and site plan review, for instance, that kind of stuff. Like, it sounds to me an analogy would be what we do, what during construction, what is done to protect water, like with water runoff. So it would be more like realizing that maybe there's some turtle habitat or
Mhm.
and that's already done, say, with bats, because of the state
Well,
where
yeah.
you can't cut down trees during certain periods. It seems like it could definitely be a good thing to do. I think that especially for the larger projects, as opposed to, a single home. But at the same, anyway, so what do other people, do you want more information? What would be the next steps?
I do have some references that they recommended, one by Doug Tallamy about
Mhm,
what you can do in your own backyard.
mhm.
And there's another one, let me take a look at it. It's called The Green Leap by Hofstetter, that seems to relate directly to municipal level kinds of things.
Did they address anything in a more urban environment?
They had studied individual homes, but this was primarily in the Adirondacks.
Mhm.
And they were looking at how much impact even just a single home might have. And they came up with a number that 200 meters in all directions is impacted, even in the short term. So that's like 30 acres for an individual home. And the species that are most affected are the specialists. The generalists can juggle things.
Mm.
And they were looking at also the sociological aspects of it, and suggested that with our growing awareness of climate change, this would be a time to go forward with something, and that as Doug Tallamy is trying to encourage, you can do a lot with just a little bit in your own backyard, for example.
Mhm.
Let's see. They did mention training as something that was being done in the Adirondacks, the park agency in the Adirondacks. So maybe that's what you're referring to. I don't know.
Yeah. I just want to say that Doug Talamy has been really instrumental for years. He's out of Delaware of encouraging people to put in native plants so that both the insects can feed the birds, basically. So it's and they all help each other. And so one of the things that and that, that I think planting native plants is really important. I think that's happening more on kind of now that newer developments come in. For instance, like if you look at the Lace Mill, those have a lot of native plants, which would have been very different, I would say 10 years ago. But it would be nice to kind of encourage that citywide. One of the things right now is the CAC has not been doing education. We are much more policy and not doing the education. And I'm not sure you could put it in the code that you could put native plants, but I think it would be interesting. And so I just wanted to explain that in case I should have just asked you if you were familiar with Doug Talamy. It's a very good book. He has books to show you kind of how to, what to plant that's like what you're used to, that is, that's native versus non-native.
I've met
And
him. He
oh yeah,
spoke at the nature center that I'm involved with.
Yeah, that's great. I've been to his talks. I'm not sure I've met him, but and then in terms of the training, there's a biodiversity that Kevin's talking about, is that there's a biodiversity training that that Hudsonia used to get funded to do for the estuary program. I don't know if they're doing that anymore. And of this CAC, I think Julie and Kevin have done the training because the CAC did the training together before I was on the CAC. So it was a while ago.
Okay.
So that's what they're talking about. It's not the park agency.
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. And forgive me because I'm relatively new to this, but in terms of the whole rezoning issue, which I assume is about basically allowing commercial and residential buildings to happen where they were not allowed before. Is that, is that a fair assessment of where that's going, or am I misunderstanding?
I think the way you're interpreting it is that it's much more about the form and what the form looks like versus what the use is. So it would not be saying this has to be residential, this has to be commercial. It's more of the look, like
how it looks. Okay,
yeah.
Got it. And do we as an advisory council have a sort of elevator speech about what our position is on this? Because I'm not clear from the last couple of meetings, and forgive me if I'm missing it. I'm not clear where we are with this. Are we still in the in the sort of data gathering phase, or do we have a mission here? I really like some guidance.
Are you talking about the form-based code and what's going to happen with the rezoning?
Yeah.
And the rezoning is using form-based code.
I think
that
it's
yeah.
like it's generally accepted that form-based code is better, but I also have had and I know there are environmental reasons, but I don't know what they are. So I've also had that question a bit. And I don't think we really got to that with when they came to our meeting. So that's not helpful, but that's.
Let me find the map. We can submit additional information to them at this time. I mean, that goes without saying. That's not a problem. They were taking a hard look at the open space plan and natural resource inventory as a key component to what they're doing. So that's important to note.
Yeah, that sounds very important.
Yeah.
I mean, I just get the impression, and again, forgive me because I'm a new kid on the block and I haven't been involved in this sort of work before, but it seems that unless you have a fairly simple headline message, it's easy for things to get lost if it's just a question of submitting reports and whatever. I'm just curious, are we interested in going towards having a strong position that has a chance of making it through the various sclerotic processes of local government, or are we just in a position of feeding the city useful information? I mean, I'm fine with either. I'm not clear what our mission is here.
I would say both. I was working with them very closely and, made sure that they had the open space plan and they were going to implement portions of it in the zoning. This could get really lost in the weeds as you compare the old zoning, and some of the loopholes in the old zoning were single family housing in areas that were identified during the open space plan. And that could lead to exactly what you don't want to do, and what Anita was just discussing. You could take like a 50-acre parcel and chop it up into a bunch of like 1-acre single family homes, and totally destroy all the habitat really easily. Typically what they try to do which from the Hudsonia trainings and Laura Heady at the SRA program, what they're trying to do would be to cluster the development with the least amount of impact. And they may recommend that many areas not be developed just the way they are in the comprehensive plan, because the zoning stems from the comprehensive plan. That's their guiding document, is the comprehensive plan, and then they incorporate all these other things like the open space plan into that. So there were a lot of areas they identified as either steep slopes, areas being prone to stormwater runoff, tree canopy, that you just wouldn't want to just go in and start chopping trees down and putting up single family homes.
Sure, I understand. I'm just curious about what our contribution is to this, because it feels like we've spent a long time talking about this over the last 3 meetings, and I'm not clear that what kind of influence are we having on this process?
I guess I'll try to answer that in the sense that I think it's a really great question, and we really need to. And so I appreciate you asking it. And for me, I feel like it's so early in the process that we gave the information and then they are, churning it up and going through it. And then they are going to come out with something that we can then react to. And I do think that they
Brilliant.
would be,
That's great. That's what I wanted to
How
know.
does
And I'm
that
sorry,
sound?
forgive me, as I say, I'm a latecomer, so I wasn't quite sure where we
No.
were in the process.
I could
So thank you.
forward you their synthesis map if you want to see it. They have all these areas marked in green, which are designated for preservation. Open space, I see it right on the map, synthesis map, open space preservation. Then they have historic preservation. They have opportunity areas and housing areas, and areas that require additional, that in their view require additional street design. And so I can't put that in the chat, but I can email it.
but yeah, why don't you email it? Yeah. 'cause
Kevin, would you
that was
email
the-
it to me? That would be great. Yeah, and then I can get a sense.
That'll show you
Yeah.
where they're at today.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Tanya's on the call, and we need, it's really late. I'm really tired, so I don't want to go crazy on this, but Tanya is very familiar with form-based code and you know, anyone who wants a little bit more of a tutorial, maybe
I
she
could,
could.
I could obviously use a
help with
tutorial, so
that.
I'll do that offline with
So-
Tanya. Thank you.
Yeah,
Um,
okay.
Thank
I
you
just
for
want to say
tolerating.
a quick word is transect. The transect. They both, the idea of what land is suitable for what and the intensity on land is very much part of form-based code.
Okay,
Well, and there's also things that have to do with like the basic functionality of form-based code that have environmental ramifications, like the placement of a building on a property related to its parking. So like if a building is placed close to the road and buildings are all placed close to the road and the parking is behind, then inherently people are more inclined to walk more. And if people are more inclined to walk more, then they're less inclined to drive, and they're less inclined to drive, then it has greenhouse gas reduction, impacts. And that is something that why we would advocate for form-based code, so that the new design would reduce the dependency on vehicles.
Right,
I-
and then
I
the
kinda
deers
have
could
a-
use the sidewalk too, just kidding.
yeah.
I'm sorry, Anita.
I kind of have a follow-up question to what Helen asked. It seems that you've looked at habitat and green space. Have we looked at the wildlife in our area at all? I'm willing to follow up with some of that and get some information about, like, are there endangered species or at-risk species around here that we should be concerned about? So,
We have that. If you look in the natural resources inventory, then the species of special concern and
okay,
all those are listed in the back of it. So if you go to kingston-ny.gov/NRI, I'll put that in the chat. That process of the habitat mapping also identified species.
okay,
Right,
Not
and that,
with a direct audit, but based on.
yeah,
habitat.
it's mapping that was done by the state. And they, they can't say this is rattlesnake habitat. They kind of have this area because they can't be really specific.
okay.
So that would be a good start. And I think that it would be good to keep talking about this. I think really when I read comments in Nextdoor, they're all about that there's a skunk and there's a possum and of course deer. And we're sharing that landscape with them. And that doesn't have an, we're not talking about turtles or birds, but we are impacting and
Or
their
bees.
habitat. They're probably generous, or bees, right? Which is another great reason for native planting. So for any way we can get that into practice, whether it's with rezoning or other ways, I think we should keep pursuing it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay, so so then we're at the tree planting grant support. The tree commission has not met. They're meeting on Thursday, for one thing. Ted, do you have any more feedback from what you reported in November? And then
I haven't really followed up, but I know that at this point we're I think they're still on track to start planting in the spring, assuming they have enough applicants. So it's just recruitment over the winter of anyone who's interested and has a suitable place for a street tree.
Right. Because they said they might mail to prospective homeowners and things like that. Yeah.
They have been doing, yeah.
Anita? Oh,
They were actually out passing things out in a number of neighborhoods
Hmm.
not
Ted,
too
did
long
you-
after their last meeting.
Ted, did you
Sure.
mention that there was some analysis or recommendation of trees that had deep, narrow roots rather than broad, shallow roots because of how it intersects with the whole sidewalk?
Yeah, they have
Issues?
a species list. So they're only going to be planting suitable street trees with more tap roots.
Roots, yeah, that's the
Yeah.
word. Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay,
Less
great.
height.
Yes.
and I believe that is, I wouldn't be able to get my hands on it right now, but there was a tree inventory and a tree report, and that species list is, I believe, is in there. So we could get that to you. And I assume that, I read your report, and I'm hoping that the Complete Streets are aware of those.
Well,
Yeah.
would it be possible to get that list, the species list to me, just to make sure that they have it?
Mhm.
I'll send it
Yeah.
on to them.
Yeah.
They definitely-
My sister's got it. I can pass it on to you.
Okay, please, because they say it's their first, but the sidewalk, maintenance, repair, whatever you want to call it, is their first priority for next year.
Great.
So which is great, but I think, there needs to be a synergy between the choice of trees and
Right.
also the preservation of existing trees. I very much wanted to push for that.
Put the link in the chat for where you can find the application and also the tree inventory and the report, kingston-my.gov/trees.
Yeah. Great. Thank you. Yeah, so I just wanted to note that when I was in Rhinebeck the other day, I tripped on the bluestone and fell flat on my face and broke my glasses. So I'm changing my tune about fixing about bluestone. No, I love bluestone. It was my, it was my own fault. So
Was it the bluestone or the tree roots that got you though? I mean, was it?
no, it's just crooked bluestone in
But would
Rhinebeck,
it
though,
have-
not,
would it have been
not in
crooked?
Kingston.
Would it have been
So-
crooked if it were concrete?
Maybe not. Yeah. No, it probably would have been smoother. Yeah. Actually, I think it was because there was grass growing between the bluestone, and so I kind of hit the grass, and then anyway. Okay, so let me see. So city plan review. So the only other, so I think that we can only just encourage anyone we know to try to plant a tree, and we've already sent letters to the alderman and that kind of thing. Okay, city plan review, Flatbush and Foxhall. I did want to report that I did send the letter that we agreed on. Do we need to memorialize that now? Like say, okay, we sent the letter? Because sometimes we're doing that, because I think it was kind of, we edit it and then I send it. And so anyway, I just want the minutes to note that that letter was sent and that we did get a reply, and the engineering department really did like the idea of they liked our comments, and they specifically liked the idea of the traffic circle, the roundabout, sorry.
Right, but the answer included that the supposition that in order to make a mini roundabout at that junction, it would require taking out the gas station. And I'm kind of
Yes.
struggling to understand that. I've had a close look at the map and the Google Earth pictures, and I've driven that junction a number of times. I mean, it is a very nasty
Yeah,
It's a very strange junction, but so what response are we going to, are we planning to give to that letter? Because it feels like we need to have a conversation. About
that's fine. I think I just said thank you or something, but I'm fine with a more of a response.
Okay,
Um,
would you like me to draft one
Sure.
for approval by the
Yep.
committee? Okay, I
Yep.
will do that.
Great. Okay. Okay, that would be great. And then we can take that up. Pedestrian bike master plan, is there anything up since the last time?
Yes, there is. I got an update today from Emily Flynn. They're starting a public outreach phase, including an interactive crowdsourcing app and a public survey. I guess I can put that in the chat. I think hopefully it'll go to the chat and not go directly to the survey. Which will allow members to map, community members to map where they often travel by walking or biking, provide recommendations and improvements such as adding a bike lane, repairing a sidewalk, there we go, and to upload pictures. There's also a link to this, well, there's a separate link. There's a tiny URL, then there's a long thing.
Is that all on Engage Kingston or is it something?
I don't know. This was an email sent to
Okay.
me today. I'd have to go to, Engage Kingston and see what Emily's done over there. There's
Okay,
also a
I'll
Google
do that.
folder with outreach materials as a flyer. And if anybody wants that, I can probably put these links in the chat. I'll try to do that. Okay, so the Project Action Committee, Advisory Committee rather, is scheduled to meet on January 4th. The time hasn't been determined yet. There's a doodle poll pending. And the first public meeting is expected to be January 18th at 6 p.m. via Zoom. And Emily will send out calendar invites.
The crowdsourcing and the survey are both up on the,
Oh, they are? Okay, then
Yep.
we just have to reference Engage Kingston and
Yep.
not go into the
Okay.
rest. Unless anybody wants the see what the flyers look like. I don't know if that's of interest or not.
I'm trying to see if they're on there.
Yeah.
Well, you could send it along or put it up there.
Okay.
And I don't really understand. Are Complete Streets on this advisory committee or whatever you call yourselves?
I think there's someone from Complete Streets on this committee. I don't have the full, let me see if when she emailed, let's see, who do we have on this? I think she did a BCC.
Okay, well, it just seems like it makes sense. And they did, because
I
the
have it.
other thing,
I'd have to look it up to see who all the members are. I remember Tom Polk being involved. Does that answer a question?
is Tom Polk on the Complete Streets, Helen? Do you know?
Don't recognize that name. Hang on, I can check.
He's the
Yeah,
he does all the wide bicycle stuff. Okay. It just seems like there's so much overlap that I was assuming that they were together or, on this and Helen reported back that they're doing some safety information, I think, in response to the bicycle accidents, correct?
Yeah.
Complete Streets.
Well, it's the bicycle. I don't know about Complete Streets because I'm not involved with that. With this group, the pedestrian bike committee, yes.
I don't
Okay.
see Bob. Sorry, was it Bob Polk? Did you say?
Tom Polk.
Tom Polk.
P-O-L-K.
He's not on the list that was sent the Complete Streets meeting agenda.
All right.
So I
Okay.
suspect the answer is no.
Okay.
All right, well, we'll have, hopefully there's cross-reference and we can look into that.
Let's see, Yeah.
Too many committees.
So,
here's the list. We got Bob Dennison, Tom Polk, me, Kyla, Gregory Jewell, Greg Croup from the city, Summer Smith, Tate Simpson from Kingston Standard, Paula Wisniewski, Brian Slack from the county, David Stace from the county.
The
Claudette-
3 of those already are on the Complete Streets Council, Bob
Yeah,
Dennis and
okay.
Brian.
Okay,
that
great.
probably
Thank
answers the
you.
question. And Steve Leibowitz, Revolutionary Bikes. Okay.
oh, great.
Barton and LaJudas are the consultants.
Mhm. And yep, and they've started. That's great. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so Ulster County Housing Development Corporation, Golden Hill Development. So what we got correspondence about the planning department taking the lead. And we are listed as, I can't think of the right name, but we are listed in their documents, so we got that information. And so does anyone have any questions on that part of just the documents that Julie sent out about the planning board being the lead agency?
No.
Okay, and then I don't think, do we have to take any action?
Yeah, you need to vote to, we have to fill out a form.
Right, this form, okay,
Yep, so you either need to consent or not consent to the planning board being designated as lead agency, and if you do not consent, you have to indicate who you wish should be lead agency. And then, so I have the form filled out, and then depending on how you all vote, I will then submit that, whatever your response is, to the planning board.
Are there
All
any viable alternatives? I thought not.
well, the county could be it. There's, so that in the document, there's involved and interested agencies, which could be the zoning board of appeals, it could be the common council, public works, but most of those probably wouldn't want to take it on. And then the county planning department is listed, different housing groups.
Sounds like the planning board is the way to go.
And we are listed, by the way, as a involved and interested agency. And so we're on the distribution contact listing, and we're the ones that, and Climate Smart is also listed, and landmark preservation and heritage area, along with.
Do we have any clout?
Do we have any clout?
Is it just an advice?
Your advisory.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're advisory.
Good to know. Thank you.
Yeah. So unless we want someone else to take it, I take the lead agency status, I think we should I suggest that we accept that and send it out accordingly. Are there any objections, or do you want to, I'm sorry.
Not knowing a lot about the city functioning, is that a reasonable group to do this?
Well, that's usually who does do it. It would be the
Okay.
Yeah.
planning
Mhm.
board. Yeah,
Okay, that makes sense to me.
that's their function,
Yeah.
Unless the county were to step in because it, it's on county land, that would be a whole different discussion, but
Mhm.
sometimes the DEC is the lead agency, but that seems
Uh-huh.
kind of far-fetched for this project.
Yeah, if it was something more
Yeah,
environmentally impactful.
yeah, or it could be another state agency if they were impacted, let's say it was
Mhm.
railroads, the MTA might get involved. I mean, that kind of thing, but that's really far-fetched for this.
And, okay, so is there, can we have a motion to proceed with signing the letter in the affirmative?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, in a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, all in
Aye.
favor. That was unanimous. Okay,
All right. I
all
will
right. So
send that-
Julie, do I have to sign it?
You can sign it or I can sign it. It's up to you. It just says, it says agency name and then by, as in whoever's signing it, and then it says signature.
Okay, well, because it came in my name, that's why I was just, my name is on the other one, so I think I should sign it. Can you send it over?
Uh,
Probably not. Is it a fillable?
well, no, yeah, it's fillable. Just fill it out.
All right, I'll just do it. Okay. And we have to send it in by the 20th.
Yep.
Okay. All right. All right. I'm trying to move through this agenda because I'm getting tired.
Yeah.
Oh, and I just wanted to say, I wanted to ask Kevin, is there any other information on the Golden Hill that is more very specific? I couldn't find anything. There's,
Well,
It-
we saw.
is it too soon? Sorry.
Let me see if they have the site plan up yet. There is, we have links, yeah, sure. But I don't know how current that is. We had something from Penrose and from the county. I carried it
Those
over.
are both very, there's nothing new on those.
Yeah, I
yeah.
don't know that the site
Okay.
plan is on the, I'm looking at the agenda for the planning board. I don't see the site plan there yet.
Okay. So at some point we could get more very specific and
Good.
looking at the site plan, because I know Anita said that they were all talking about places they wouldn't
Yeah, they
build.
seem to have consolidated the location of their buildings to
Yeah.
avoid the steepest areas. They're going to leave them wooded.
Yeah, and traffic was identified by one of the
Right.
common council members as an issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that would be where we look, just on, the open space components and the traffic, I think, would be public safety, yeah.
Oh, and then Julie, did you send the link to the kind of checkoff list that we've used for things like Landmark Place?
I did. I emailed it during the last meeting.
Okay, all right.
Further there.
So you can look at that. That's kind of the thing, like Anita, we could even change that to put more kind of animal-based
Okay.
critter-based, I'll just say. Yes,
Oh,
sorry.
They do have the, I don't know when this was posted. They do have the FEAF and a narrative and a set of plans at the planning board.
At the Kingston Planning Board?
Yeah,
So that's a final environmental assessment form?
yes, final environmental assessment form, part 1.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay, because if you could even just send us kind of the path to get there, because I never can find the information.
all right, it's not easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll put the link in the chat, but
Okay,
you're gonna get to 2021 agenda documents and you have to go to December, open that up and go through all the different projects they have. It isn't like the one link, takes you right there. It doesn't work like that. So that's going in the chat.
Okay.
And, yeah. I can download the whole thing if it's not
Okay.
a huge thing. We'll send it out.
all right. Okay, because if we want to keep abreast of that, that would be good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you'll need the
Okay.
site plan, geo-referenced, planning board application, Penrose application, geo-reference for the site plan.
Great.
So
So moving on from that, is there any
Okay.
new information on East Strand or Hurley Avenue?
Well, Hurley Avenue, actually, there was East Strand. I don't know that I haven't heard about that in a while, but yeah, Hurley Avenue. This was let me find the November.
That's the Kingston Meadows.
This is 199 Rear Hurley. Request to obtain planning board input on updating the 2013 secra negative declaration on this project. Okay. The board voted unanimously to table the application to provide new updated information as discussed, including verification that the project is not a type 2 action under the secra regulations and continues to be an unlisted action. And they asked for the legal basis from the applicant for this. And I didn't see it on the December meeting. So I don't know what that means. It means they didn't come up with the information yet, if they're not on the December meeting.
Okay. All right. We could have a little secret review at some
Yeah,
time, but
that might have been.
not tonight.
Yeah, I might have lost some of you in the weeds on that one.
yeah, so that's, yeah,
Yeah.
Let's-
But
yeah, let's-
suffice it to
let's-
say, the matter is continued until the
okay.
and the applicant needs to respond. That's
Yeah.
the ball is in the applicant's court.
And yeah, and by the way, the Penrose was listed as unlisted. That sounded weird, but anyway, as a comparison.
Yeah, I haven't
Okay.
even looked at that yet, but we'll get to it.
All right, so then the next thing, water quality, Sebastian's not here. New business is the 2021 CAC year-end report. And we, and Julie put in a link for what we usually do. And so what normally what we do, I believe, is, Julie, do you want to cover that? Sorry.
Sure. So basically, every year I take the previous year's year-end report and I just update it. So what I will need, I will go through and update everyone's terms. The highlights for the year are the work that we've done for 2021. And the special guest presentations and the environmental reviews and the letters of support. I'll do all that. But from you all, I need two things. And I'd just like you to get them to me within the next couple of weeks. I need any professional development that you have done in 2021 that is relevant to the CAC, that would help to show that we as CAC members are keeping up with professional development on environmental issues, and showing the power that we have and the knowledge that we have. You can see some examples here. So if you, by professional development, if you participated in a webinar, if you listened in on a webinar, if you went to a class, if you went to a conference, if you went to some kind of meeting that had environmental work done at it, if you read a book about something, like any kind of professional development that would show that you are keeping yourself up to date with this role as a CAC member. And the other thing I need is a list of any organizations that you are appointed to or a liaison to that are relevant to your resume here with the CAC. So you'll see on the last page of the year-end report, those from folks from last year. And so any of these that are no longer active, I will take off. And then any committees that you serve on or liaison to or appointed to outside of the CAC, I will add on to this. And then we will pull that all together and we will look at a final version of this at the January meeting. And then you all will adopt it And then I will post it on the website and share it with the council.
Great, thank you. And so the next CAC is, or those CAC meeting in January. Since it's, I'm gonna assume that we could say like, get this into Julie. Could it be like the first, second, the 4th? Would that give you enough time? That would be the Monday after the,
Yeah, that would be great.
that would be like 8 days before our meeting.
I have a question for Julie. I'm just wondering if that's for professional development, is it all of 21 or if it's before our appointment, does it count?
It still helped you. I think you can put it in,
I agree.
Yeah,
Okay.
I would say so.
Yeah.
Sure.
but it is supposed to be this past year, not in 2020, for instance, but. So
Yeah.
what I
For those of
needed
you that
to
have-
attend the,
are new to the CAC, anything you did in 2021, I think is relevant.
Okay.
okay, thank you. And, yeah, and, okay, and then new business CAC website updates.
Yeah, so in doing so, I usually, this time of year, I usually update the website. And one of the things that I need from you all is there's a section on the website that has meet the council. And so we put a photo of everyone on the council, if you're okay with it, and a bio. So you can check out some of the older ones there. And if you all wouldn't mind in the same timeline, kind of sending me your photo and your bio, and I will update that. And then the website will, I have to make some more updates, but this is the time of year that I typically do that. So please send those over to me.
And when's the deadline for that?
Same time would be great.
Okay,
Thank you for doing that.
great. Okay. All right. New communications, I guess. I would just say the one communication we had was our response to the Foxhall Flatbush, but we already talked about that. Are there any other communications? And well, and also the communication from the land trust. Yeah. Anything else?
Just for clarification, who responded on the Foxhall Flatbush? The engineering department or the?
I think it was Krupp. No,
Greg
there's
Krupp,
probably
Greg
not
Krupp.
even a name.
Okay, Greg
That's not
Krupp.
even, yeah,
Yep, he's the project point person, right? Okay. that
yeah,
sounds-
Greg Krupp. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if this counts because I think it was just like a private invitation to us, but I know that Susan Winchell Sweeney is wrapping up the smell walk work and she updated us, and maybe they'll have more of like a final report as the semester ends at Bard.
Okay, that doesn't have anything to do with what's happening tomorrow, which I was going to talk about,
Okay.
correct? Okay, so she might be letting us know that she would give us a report, or she would talk on in January, or?
Well, no, I was just saying she invited us to the thing tomorrow. So
Oh,
that
okay.
was the communication, but
Mhm.
I'm interested in knowing what the results are. I can't make it tomorrow, so I'll watch the recording.
Okay, yeah, so that is the GIS for environmental justice students will be representing their final products on tomorrow at 10 o'clock, and she was supposed to send a Zoom link. Did we need to let her know if we wanted to attend that? To get the link?
She sent me the link. I thought she sent it to all of us.
I don't know.
I
I
have to
did not get it.
I'm not sure I got it.
Oh, I told her I was gonna go via the link, so I thought she sent it to all of us, but I don't know if it matters.
Okay, so did everyone get this notice from her about this class?
No, I did not.
Okay, I'll just forward that and then hopefully she'll see it and can send you the information because it is at 10 o'clock tomorrow and 10:20, and it's more than the smell walk, right? It's everything they've done for
Okay,
this year.
I think I have the link.
So I'll forward the link because it does say in the email, for those wishing to join via Zoom, here's the link.
Yeah, I think I
Oh,
have.
great.
Okay,
So let me.
So we don't have to RSVP.
no, you would
Yeah.
if you were gonna go in person, that's for sure.
And I think she will follow up with the recording too, because I asked.
Okay. Yes.
The link itself didn't want to go into the chat. What happened there? Okay, do over. It got all the rest of it. Yeah, if you want to call.
Okay,
There we
great.
go. Now we're
Okay.
good. All right.
Okay, and then the other announcement I had was, let me see, trying to read my email, my notes. Oh, Thursday, if you're interested, there's a talk about banning leaf blowers. And there's
yes.
examples all over the country for, and it's coming out of Boston University, I believe, and that's at 12 to 2. And so if you're interested in that, it would be not banning all leaf blowers, but gas powered
Yes,
ones.
powered.
Mostly for noise, but I assume for pollution too.
Yeah, the trouble with that is it tends to affect professionals
Right.
from minority communities, and that's a complicated issue.
It is. I agree. But it's also pretty bad for the people that are doing it. So.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's a really complicated
Yeah.
issue.
Yeah, well, it might be good to listen to it and see what they're saying in that regard. Okay. Okay. And okay. So updates. So Helen sent her report. Thank you for doing that. Did everyone have a chance to read it? Do you have
I'm
any
sorry it was so
questions?
late. I'm a journalist. I have a terrible relationship with deadlines. Sorry. And just one thing to add, on a separate note, I did also, but very recently, write to Bob Dennison about the idea of providing some educational signs on I-587 to give people more guidance about how to behave on the roundabout. So I'll keep you updated on that.
Great.
Put the ball in motion anyway.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you on that. Yeah, and I already told you about tripping on the sidewalk, so thank you for that report. Planning board, Kevin, do you have anything besides what we've already talked about?
Hutton Brickyard wants their bond released. I don't think that affects us. And I think Lucas Avenue is still on the agenda, but we haven't weighed in on that in ages. But
So
that's a-
Lucas Avenue
Okay, you
is,
wanna explain it, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
can you explain where Lucas Avenue is? I mean, it's, okay, Lucas Avenue goes,
Near Forsyth Park.
yeah, it's on Forsyth Park, and then if you go a
Ah.
little farther out, before Stewart's, on the
Mm.
left, there's a property that is behind the other houses. So it's not right on the street. And so I can't remember if we've ever commented on that.
We looked at the open space components to it, and then it turned into a thing. I think there were a lot of traffic issues.
Mhm.
And it's a residential neighborhood, and there's sort of, it had a little, a relative, some open space right between some of the houses, and it was in a vacant lot. And the developers came in and wanted to put, a housing complex there. And it's surrounded by mostly one-family homes. So a lot of the local people are not so pleased with the density being increased.
Mhm.
Yeah, and they've been, put in comments at the planning board to that effect.
Okay, thank you. And public safety liaison, we apologize that that was Ted, not Helen. Is that correct?
Yeah, they didn't meet last month.
Okay. And I just want to say, Kevin, we always send, or Michelle gets our minutes, right? Besides, she's our liaison, but she
She's
hasn't
on
been
our,
attending.
on
our
our
meeting.
list, yeah, she's on
Yeah.
our list.
Yeah, she gets all communications.
Okay, great. Zoning committee,
That we covered that up above under Dover
okay,
Cole.
right.
Unless
Climate
time-
smart,
Climate smart, I have to go to the climate smart minutes to do that. That was held on November the 17th. And just was, okay. Julie reported on the climate action plan being released in November. And there was a comment period in November, which is now done. And I believe the final draft, it may already be completed. Julie, is it completed or is it?
The climate action plan is, I had my last meeting today, and we are going to have the final in hand on Friday.
wow, congratulations.
Yeah,
Okay.
super
All
excited.
right. Very good. Wow. Moving on past the climate action plan, we'll move into refrigerants. There was a pretty lengthy discussion on refrigerants. I think where that's going is to try to come up with a refrigerant plan for the city. A number of people are involved in that. And that would be again, Julie, Ellie Gartenstein, and three of our commissioners, Dan Smith, Jess Cronin, and Maya Numista. One of the issues is disposable, and that's a kind of a production there. I mean, they're not releasing the refrigerants into the atmosphere when you're disposing of it. And this would have some municipal components, and it would also have a private component to it as well. The recent asset inventory that they did regarding refrigerant equipment, city refrigerant equipment is being used to ensure best practices are being put in place. That's to be continued. Julie went through the city sustainability projects. The Kingston Point Park parking lot is complete. If you haven't been down there, you can check that out. Well, we already covered the community preservation plan at this meeting, so I think we can skip that.
Mhm.
Ellie Gartenstein discussed the greenhouse gas inventory and benchmarking for energy consumption. Then we went on to the Repair Cafe, and Melissa Ayasheta, who Climate Smart Commissioner, discussed the recent November Repair Cafe and the next steps going forward. And there was another discussion concerning the remembrance of John Wackman. John Wackman was a key person, instrumental in the Repair Cafe and getting it organized, and he passed away early in 2021. Let's see, is there anything else that we haven't covered there? Oh, the organics plan is expected to be completed.
Oh my gosh.
Is it, or is that continued?
It's still going.
Okay, still going. All right. Ellie reported on NYSERDA funding applications for Sun Common and the solar installation proposed for the Andy Murphy Center. The grant was at that time in November was going into contract. So we'll probably get an update on that at the next Climate Smart meeting, unless Julie, you want to weigh in on that at this point on the solar. at the Murphy
Yeah,
Center?
we're not, we are awaiting draft contract from NYSERDA, so we can't move on that until we're in contract.
Okay, and Melissa reported on her social media postings. That would include Solarize, the zoning initiative, and Green the Grid. These were the recent ones. And Betta Broad, who was formerly served on this board, but she's still over at Climate Smart. She indicates she's still an administrator there and is going to be posting regarding clean transportation climate initiative related content. Now, I had a little bit of a problem trying to access the page to go through all that. So yeah, I got blocked by Facebook. So we don't know what that's all about, but I have a link.
Yeah, so
on
you're
that.
talking about the Facebook page. Okay.
Yeah. I couldn't access it. It was formerly a public page, but I don't know what happened. So I can put the link into that link to and put that in the chat if
So-
anybody wants to look further at Climate Smart.
Okay, I just wanted to say that for newer people, the city had a grant to look at organics, mostly in the community, and we even got to do waste audits and digging through trash and categorizing it and all that. And it's been a long time since that happened, and we've been waiting for the report and how that will impact whether or not whether it's municipal or whether it's going to be, what's going to happen based on the report, I guess. And let me see. And of course, refrigerants are the biggest greenhouse gas producers, or they're the most, how do you say that? Potent. They are potent greenhouse gases. And so this would be about so I assume that this is when you talk about disposal, it's like if I wanted to get rid of a refrigerator or and is that correct?
Yeah, we've also had extensive discussions on replacement refrigerants.
Oh, okay.
That's a more complicated, and it's kind of late at night to start that discussion because it always goes on at the Climate Smart Commission. So,
and that sounds like that's more like a national or state issue.
That's an
too, but-
international issue. None of them are any good, really. If you take a good, really hard look, they may not violate the Montreal protocols, but they certainly are, not good.
Okay.
No. So.
Okay. Any questions on any of that?
I
Okay.
just quickly want to mention, I was just reminded because of the social media thing, and I meant to bring it up before. I know it's late, so I'll follow up with Julie and copy everyone by email, but I just noticed that like the CAC of Hudson has very active Instagram, and I think there's a lot of work we do and interesting content like the data we saw today in the smell walk. So I would be interested in supporting social media for the CAC, and like getting our message out there more when we talk about
Mhm.
finding a youth committee member. I think that might help with outreach. So I just wanted to mention that, and I'll follow up by email.
I
Okay.
agree. I mean, like the
Great.
tree planting thing in particular, there's so few people applying for the trees that I think an Instagram
Yeah. Hmm.
for that.
And I have a lot of experience. I used to do it for Kingston Land Trust, and I do it for my partner's business. So I'm happy to help out with that.
Terrific.
Great, thank you. And, okay, so I was gonna report out on the EMC and so the EMC, we combine our November, December meeting, and we usually have a really good Christmas party. So we missed that this year. But there was, first of all, we had a speaker from a sheep farm down in southern Ulster, and that was interesting. But I guess one of the most important things, one thing that I want to mention is there is an Ulster County parcel mapper, and I use it all the time because you can see the properties, but they just put in 2021, the county just put in 2021 aerials and infrared imagery.
Wow.
So if you go to the parcel mapper, you can,
Do that.
and yeah, so Ted put the link in. It's really neat because like you can, for the infrared, you can see trees and other activity. And then for the aerial, you can see all the solar panels. For instance, I was looking in Kingston, you can see the solar panels on the new Rupco, what's it called, E-Square. Anyway, that you can see all the panels there. That's pretty cool. And it's just always fun to look at. So they definitely wanted to let everyone know that that was out there. And in terms of the, we also had reports on the water quality, or we had a meeting on the water quality committee that I'm on. And that was more about groundwater protection and source water protection. So it doesn't really apply to us. I mean, we do have to protect our source of drinking water, but ours is a reservoir. And that's all for me on that. And for the tree commission, they're meeting on Thursday, and Anita already mentioned things. And Anita, I would be fine with you attending those meetings instead of
Okay.
me,
Sure.
if you're okay with that. So,
Yep.
thank you. Yeah, so that's all. Is there anything else that we want to mention? Okay, I'm gonna just try to do a few little like next steps. So and I didn't take notes, so it's gonna be on top of my head. I'm gonna sign 2 letters, and one for the Penrose and one for the Land Trust, and send those out. Ted's gonna look up Instagram, or gonna work on that. On media, Helen's going to write a letter on the traffic circle, and seemed like there was something else. She's going to follow up with Dennison about signage. Anita is going to think more about the information on making habitat for animals. I guess that's not a real. And let me see, what's Kevin gonna do? Kevin's gonna do all the stuff he always does.
Everyone
Right.
needs to review the portal, the air quality portal, and provide comments on it.
Right, the air quality portal, and also send the year-end report and the website information. Is there anything else that,
And everybody's going to
miss?
send their updates to Julie.
Yep.
yes. Yep. All right, and you're all gonna have a great next 2 weeks without too much stress, right?
Oh, sure.
Sure.
All right, motion to adjourn.
Grab the chat before we adjourn. Motion?
Seconded.
Okay, all in
Okay.
favor? All
Aye.
right, so,
8:24.
Happy holidays,
yeah.
everyone.
yeah.
Yeah, Merry
you too.
Christmas.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Happy
everyone.
holidays.
Aye.
Okay,
Bye.
Bye.
Night.
thank you. Good night.
Night.